Alright, time to start these gals. And welcome back to Billy's Hobbies. And today, we are working on the Sister Novitiate squad. Now, I have a confession to make. I bought one of the Armageddon boxes. Well, more like Combat Patrol DLC. I technically saved about $60. I needed about 3 of the 4 things in there. But I'm getting off track. A little bit of lore about these sisters. These are essentially Adeptus Sororitas in training. Essentially students being overseen by a teacher until they become full-fledged members of the Adeptus Sororitas. I'm not going to go over the entire lore, but I'll leave a link to the wiki page in my description. But if you're wondering why these are partially painted already, I got invited over to a friend's house and we decided to do a mini painting party. And well, let's just say the influence of Slanesh was there. But let's get some of these unpainted ones up to snuff, and if you enjoy this type of content, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And remember to hit the bell for notifications. Okay, I may be retreading on some stuff, but if you're new to the channel, you're welcome. So I'm giving a white base layer to the sword so I can dry brush it later with silver. This will give the sword kind of a newer and almost shinier look. My goal with this is to give them what looks like newer weapons, but more down shoulder pads and armor, like they were given hand-me-downs versus receiving newer or shinier equipment. Okay, working on the red hand rare. As you kind of saw earlier, I gave them brass masks instead of painting their faces flesh tone. This idea came to me while I was putting them together, and I just didn't like the way you glued the faces into them. I got the inspiration for this from King Baldwin from Kingdom of Heaven, and also the mythic Dawn cultist from Oblivion. So I felt both of them were on point for Adeptus Sororitas, and I decided to use it. And my lore can be, your beauty must be hidden from the battlefield. You're not ready for that privilege. But I was following the rule clue on that one. And hopefully it doesn't imply them have leprosy. I'm going back over the cape with the Citadel red. I believe it's Mephisto red. But, you know, I did such a shoddy job with it last night with just regular old red from a different brand. I just have to go over it. I want to blame Slanesh, but just like in Margaritaville, I know it's my own damn fault. But I am kind of noticing that the two reds are contrasting against each other slightly, and it's giving kind of a shading effect. Which I'm starting to enjoy, but I gotta wait until the final product to give my final judgment. And you gotta clean that brush after all that red. Okay, let's put on the metallics. And we're starting out with Skull Crusher Brass, our favorite. We are working on the Twin Blade unit. Now, the original instructions actually had this model holding 1 dagger or 1 sword, but the way the extra parts worked, I decided to go with 2 swords instead. I felt like a young cocky recruit would probably carry 2 swords, like a young edgelord. While I'm doing this, I feel like this is a good time to explain why you want this squad in your army. Now, I recently used this squad in a battle against my friend's Death Guard, and there's really nothing special about this unit. It can easily be a replacement for the Battle Sister squad or Domination squad. Not really a replacement, but anyways, the big thing about this unit is its infiltration ability. Not many Adeptus Sororitas units have this. Some of them have just Scout 8 inches, but these gals, Infiltrators. During deployment, if every model in this unit has this ability, it can be set up anywhere on the battlefield that more than 8 inches horizontally from your opponent's deployment zone and all enemy units. This is a really good ability to get some early points on some objective markers, and if you have the right leader with them, they can actually hold the line. When I was running them, I had them being led by the Palatine, which came with the Armageddon box. That gave them lethal hits, which now I think that didn't really help that much. But I had an enchantment on her, I'm trying to remember what it was, and we were still playing 10th edition at the time. That gave me a extra command point for staying in that position, or gave me advantage on the control work. So the long and short of it is, this is a good squad to have for early point advantage, and I guess get some extra miracle dies. Alright, doing the quick skin tone on the one unit. My first base layer is a mixture of red and white to make a kind of dark pink, kind of underflesh. Then top me off with a skin tone, and this should make it look like actual living flesh. Okay, let's put some detail on the bases. Now, these figurines did come with some of their own little footing, but it doesn't cover the whole base. And for my kill teams, even though I don't really play kill teams, I usually like doing all the bases, but this town, I'm just going to spread brown all over it and just make mud. And while I have the brown out, I might as well do the smaller details like the belts and pouches. Which, these are very small details, and I'm definitely using too big of a brush. But with some light touches, it should be okay. Alright, so I had my friend actually paint this specific one. He was someone not into Warhammer, and I just handed him minifigures so he had something to do while hanging out with us. But he thought of this idea of painting the sleeves purple, or the edge of them, to give them a little ring around. And he never got to finish it or implement it. But I decided to put it on this one. And I really liked the look, and I started doing it on every other unit. Okay, so getting back out the signature Muso Black. Not really my signature, but I'm right now trying to paint over the eyes to make them seem hollow. So if this is your first video of mine, Muso Black is supposed to be one of the blackest blacks, or kind of a matte black. And the reason why I'm using it is to create a artificial depth, or artificial definition to my figurines. So I mainly put this in the eye holes or barrels of guns or opening of sleeves, but I've also used it for smoke and soot effects as well. Alright, we're on the final step and we are working on the washes. As always, for the brass and the skull parts, I'm using Seraphim. I think this does add a lot of good shading to the brass parts, and it gives a lot of weathering to bone textures. Not exactly a wash, but I'm using a translucent red for this Apocrypher's syringe. I think using translucent colors on some of these will give it a glass effect. And now it's time for the non oil. And I'm just going to spread this out, and I'm going to oversaturate this with non oil and see what happens. And with them all done, I have to say, I think the non oil saved them. They look really cooled and weathered, but without the camera, you can still tell how thick some of the paint went on here. I do want to blame some of it on my friend I allowed to paint this one mini, but I also was not using my usual paints. That had me do some inconsistencies to my techniques. I do have to say, I think they did come out great, and the non-oil did hide some of it, but there are still a lot of rough edges. Okay, I think I need another break from Adeptus Sororitas. Thanks for hanging out today, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. I know this is a little bit shorter format than my usual videos, and I wouldn't mind hearing some feedback. Check out my other videos, and have a good day.